Trying to make money through your creativity is a blessing, but it isn't always something that's granted to everybody. There's a good amount of people who are still starving artists in this economy, and that's simply because they haven't either instilled the principles of business that help them get forward, or they haven't relied enough on their compass, their inner compass, that inner guidance system, which guides them to the correct rooms, because sometimes the wrong rooms could really mess up your trajectory. So for a little background on myself, I started a brand called SiblingsVFX, where I handled the photography and editing for a lot of these major artists, athletes, just celebrities in general, because of the legacy that I was coming from. I was granted a lot of access very early in my journey, which allowed me to lay the foundation. But then there's certain things that I had to implement in order to stay in these rooms and navigate these rooms, because having these amount of opportunities, granted to you all at once, you have to start building up your levels of discernment, because there's a lot of traps set, especially for creatives and artists. So the very first thing that I would suggest is actually know your stuff. Go learn some legal terms. Go learn, the deals that they typically give, creators or artists, or, just different people in whatever realm that you're doing. Inform yourself, and it makes it a lot easier for you to know, for one, where your value stands a little bit. When I was very first starting getting into my photography and editing and stuff like that, I was getting into instances where it felt like I wasn't doing anything for anybody, right? I felt like what I was doing was so worthless because of how easy it was for me to do it, until I started to do more research on the people around me and, my peers, and realized that these things were necessities to brands, businesses, companies, and just people looking to document their life in real time at a high quality. And it shifted my perspective to, doing $50 photo shoots to being willing to charge $1,000, $500, charge more for, the simple 30 minutes to an hour, Those type of things came from me informing myself, and then being confident enough to apply it, because crazy enough, I had more no's than I've had more yeses, right? But every single time I've been told no, it showed me that my craft or my interest wasn't necessarily what was valuable in that space. And granted, on every single time that I've been told no to that price, they've always lowballed me. When I took that same product, right, and I took it somewhere else, I started interacting with different people. I started interacting with different clients. Next thing you know, I started having invoices paid in full. I started getting tips. Certain things started happening solely off my ability to move what I was doing around the space. It wasn't, there was something wrong with me. I just wasn't informed enough. If I wasn't informed that there were people willing to pay these higher amounts, I would have accepted the people who weren't doing that. Ignorance is a bliss to a certain extent. And this also comes with a great deal of emotional intelligence. I think being an entrepreneur or a creative is going to push your limits. It's going to stress you in any facet, right? Because it's going to push your boundary of what you believe to be true. If you came from, an environment where you didn't necessarily have anything, or you just came from less, you have to almost bully your brain into realizing what's true. You have to it's this journey of opening your perspective. You only know what you know, and granted, you may know a lot, but there's always different ways. There's always different approaches. There's always different realities and different ways that we can be living life that may open our energy, our frequency, and by product, our money, So being able to be like, this is what I know. If I haven't got where I wanted to get to, it's not a problem of me or what I have or what I'm lacking. It's more of a problem of what I don't know. As soon as you inform yourself, a lot of these solutions start to be right in front of you. And certain things, different practices, how people get you guys. They put words like perpetuity on page 250 of a contract, knowing that you aren't going to sit there and read it, and you don't have the money to pay for lawyers and stuff like that. It's certain things that they might try to hit you with just off the fact that you aren't consciously aware of it. But if you know that people are usually getting, deals through at them that aren't beneficial, if you know that people are usually, getting brand deals and sponsorships that is really below what they're truly worth, you'll be able to look out for those things, and you'll kind of guess it or predict it before it happens, and they sense that energy. Now, I firmly believe your intuition is a key aspect in your business. In order to be a successful entrepreneur or creative, you need to learn how to use your intuition and your discernment to a max. In my instance, it felt like it happened overnight. Overnight, people started realizing, oh, that's what your grandfather is. Oh, you're part of legacy, etc. Oh, come here. Oh, come do this. Oh, meet this person. Oh, do this, do this, do that, do that, do that. And since I was very young, I was about 19, 20 at the time, right? My perspective going into it was like, I'm just happy to be here. Who all is here? I'm just meeting all these people. I'm just happy to be shaking hands and building my network. But what was happening, I was shaking the wrong hands. And what do I mean by that? I was shaking hands with people who didn't necessarily align with the trajectory of what I was trying to get to. I was just shaking hands on the benefit or the good grace of wanting to make a connection, which means my creativity and my energy started to be pulled in areas that it didn't need to be pulled in. I started building in areas and in spaces that didn't need to be built in, solely based upon my need to want to attach myself to somebody. And this is something that I'm also learning now in my journey. Attaching yourself to somebody's success is a very, very, very short way to manifest nothing but trauma for yourself. The quickest way to manifest that own level of joy, happiness, and peace within yourself is to achieve it for yourself. Don't try leeching off of anybody, and don't try taking a piece of anybody else, because it's not going to leave you fulfilled like how you think you are. And it's going to leave a lot of egotistical situations. So use your intuition. Really ask yourself, who is this person? Is my spirit telling me that I should create with them? Is my spirit telling me that no, I shouldn't? And crazy enough, you can kind of test these boundaries by hitting them with a price. Once you do the information, once you do the spiritual work, and once you truly come to terms on what you value yourself, not what the market, what people are telling you, what do you truly value what you do at, you're going to start pitching that number. And crazy enough, the people who are sitting at your frequency, the people who are at your level, the people who are actually people who you would want to work with, would see that number and accept it and pay it. Or there may be people who are above your frequency and may be like, man, this is some easy stuff right here. Yes, of course I would pay this. And then that just instills the confidence within yourself, because you're like, if you've sat in a predicament where you didn't think you were worth something, and then you have somebody pay you in full, no questions asked, it instills a certain level of confidence in you. Like, wow, I didn't know that this was a thing. Well, maybe there's more. Maybe there's another level. Experience is a very real thing. And this is why I also say having confidence in what you're doing and what you're pitching is so important. You can pitch, let's say for, people selling services and stuff like that, you can pitch $1,000 service and they may say, okay, but in the back of their head, they may have been expecting a $5,000 service. So by you charging that $1,000 service and them saying, yeah, you may have thought that you reached this level, you just broke through a barrier. But to them, they're like, if you only knew what you were truly worth, this wouldn't even be a conversation where you would have got paid more. But since we don't fall into these type of, self-esteem levels and these train of thoughts, it becomes difficult for us to manifest these type of interactions. We tend to stick ourselves and become controlled by the low frequency vibrations of where we first started, instead of the elevation of where our wisdom and our experience is taking us to. Now, if you're an empath going into business, you are going to hit your head a lot. I hit my head a lot. And it wasn't because I was hitting my head due to mistakes. It was hitting my head because my emotions were very, very, very powerful. And there was only a certain amount that I could turn it off, which led to the intuition. I started realizing that sometimes my emotions is intuition. Sometimes my emotions is telling me this isn't a good deal. Sometimes my emotions is telling me, oh, I would really want to work with this person. Well, why? What is it within that space that's pulling my energy that I really want to be in there? What is it about this space that's causing my reaction, my emotions to spark like this? Our emotions aren't dumb. Of course they say in business it's a good practice to turn them off, but we always have them. God wouldn't have gave us anything that was not useful. So it's coming to a balance of your masculine and your feminine energy. That feminine energy within all of us, the man and the women, is used as a guidance system to bring you to certain places. If you've always had a dream, a hope, an aspiration, a pull to make it to a certain place, live a certain life, being around certain people, that made those people, that place, that lifestyle, that whatever the case may be a direct correlation to your purpose and your happiness and your fulfillment levels. But if you deny yourself of your truest wants and your truest purpose, which quote unquote is your emotions, this is all an emotional state, right? Your purpose is an emotion. I don't care what anybody says, the mission, that is an emotion. You have a deep-rooted emotion telling you that you need to do something in order for something else to happen. That's not a train of thought. These are emotions. Humans are more emotional than we think, right? So once you start bringing in those emotions with a balanced and an intentional headspace, you'll start realizing, wait a minute, this person's not talking to me right. This person's not treating me right. This person has a false ideology around business or life or something like that may be counterproactive or counterproductive to what I'm trying to get to. So instead of me putting my craft or my business or my literal money in this environment, I'm about to shift the tide. I'm about to remove it. That saying, and I say this in a lot of my videos, how a man does one thing, he does everything. I'm pretty sure this goes around with almost every species on the planet. If they're diligent, determined, focused, loyal, loving, honest in one area, it's going to show in every other area. If they're not, it's going to show in business. So if they don't know how to respect you, they're probably not going to respect your business. If they don't know how to talk to you, they probably don't know how to talk to their clients. If they don't know how to, build loyal trust and all these other type of things, what makes you think that they're going to be able to set those foundations in a business or a money transaction? That's where, checks start bouncing and stuff like that. That's when payments start getting delayed. That's when, people start asking more from what they necessarily paid for. These type of things can always be seen in foresight, but it's not until you actually acknowledge it and we stop turning off our emotions as if they're these demonized aspects. Like God wouldn't have gave it to all of us. You get what I'm saying? This, when we get into this business world, if we were to tie it to religion, right, we would view the masculine mind as heaven, and we would view the feminine world as hell. The reason why I say this is because they say in order for you to be good in business, kill all emotions, right? That's putting the perspective that feminine standpoint is counterproactive or counterproductive to business. But business is a spirit of creation. Who holds the spirit of creation? Deep down, let's be honest with ourselves. Yes, we can say the man built the world, but who created? Really tap into what I'm saying, then Mother Nature, the air. This is a feminine flow. This is a feminine energy. Yet we turn that off and try to rely solely on our masculine. But if you were to implement both, your income would probably skyrocket. It's not even a probably. It's almost like a guarantee, because you open your perspective and you open your energy flow to more. You're receptive to more. Your income is also going to be directly correlated to what you're receptive to. The person who posts content is receptive to one day content paying them. The person who doesn't post content, the person who, let's say, does hair, is receptive to getting hair payments. You get what I'm saying? The person who plays video games or tries to do makeup, you guys are catching my gist. You have to be open and receptive to that frequency in order for it to ever come to you. And that is a spiritual practice of acknowledging and filtering out the things that's not in alignment and the things that are in alignment. Chances are, if you implement these perspectives, you're going to come out better on the other side of business. And if you like these type of videos, make sure to go down, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys later.